so you got hired on as a regional quality assurance manager, or at least you were eventually promoted into a role as a
Correct.
regional quality assurance manager for international flavors and fragrances.
Yeah.
So, how did you find your way into the fragrances industry with this company?
So this was an interesting turning point, and I think this plays into letting your engineering audience know that your career can go in many different directions. So, after having a big job, I was the director of quality assurance for an optical networking company. And then I had some time off, 6 months to be home with my third child and my second and my first. And I had to then eventually go back to work. My husband was going through a career change, and we agreed that after 6 months, I needed to go back to work. But I said, I don't want to have that high pressure role. I just want to go back as an individual contributor. And when this job came up as quality engineer, about two levels down from where I was, but the compensation was good. It was near my home and it was a different industry. And I was kind of interested in like, well, what do they see in me? I've always been in electronics manufacturing or product development. But they said specifically how I presented myself, my background in quality was what they needed. And they said they wanted somebody outside the industry with a different set of eyes because that industry was always hiring the same kind of people. And they had the mindset to hire from outside. And so that's where engineers sometimes get stuck. They think, I can only do this. But if you've honed your skills and realize that they are transferable and that you can learn pretty quick about that specific business and customize what you know, you can transcend and move into other industries. So that was the beauty of moving in at two levels down, doing a job I know I could do. But if you do that, it allows you to go sideways in your career and then quickly up again. So then I got promoted to quality supervisor. I was overseeing a department of inspectors, and then eventually got into being a quality assurance manager, not only over the fragrance division, but also the flavors division, because I was able to make so many process improvements, reducing defects. They said, we got to leverage that over to our flavors business. So I learned both the fragrance and flavors business, again, a chemical based industry, but again, transferable skills that I learned over in the electronics industry. So that was a glorious 9 years. And I had advocates and they really allowed me to grow, and I was able to return a lot of value.
It's awesome. And it's funny how you said, "Oh, I'll take a step down. I don't want to be a manager anymore. I want to be an individual contributor." 9 years later, then you've done a lot of managing since you've been there. So since you were there, it looks like also at this point in your career, lean became a big part of what you were doing. What was that? Was I don't even know the timeline of whenever lean took off, but obviously it
Yeah.
became a big part of your career at that point in time.
Well, let's just say at that point in time, we were just dipping our toe into it. And so I was at the early stages where they would bring in a consultant and start teaching us basic lean principles of waste and 5S. And we maybe dabbled in it a little bit at that time in the late, 2010 time period. It wasn't that big a thing. And I learned a little bit about it. I was more on the Six Sigma DMAIC defect reduction time. So learned a lot about statistics and how to reduce defects, reduce variability, how to run a
Yeah.
full project. I learned all of that. Those are the skills that I really honed while I was at IFF Flavors and Fragrance. Lean became my nemesis and my success at the next company. But I'll wait for you to tell me I can transition.
Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.